Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, joined on this fine Sunday afternoon by a new couple of Lakers. The Lakers made a trade Sunday morning, Pacific Coast time, and I think got a little bit better. In this trade, the Lakers sent D'Angelo Russell and Maxwell Lewis in 3 unprotected second rounders to Brooklyn, who sent Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton. We'll talk about that trade. We'll talk about what comes next. We'll talk about where this leaves the Lakers and what their rotation might look like. I'll offer up some background on how this trade came about, and all of that good stuff. Quick reminder, please do hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you get your podcast. If you guys are listening to this in the morning, if you guys are watching live right now, please hit that like button, and then please hit that subscribe button here as well. If you guys are watching on Twitter, where you can follow me right there, you can see it down below at Anthony Irwin LA is where you could find me on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, as well as Blue Sky. I think I'm on there. I think all of my socials are Anthony Irwin LA. And then, you could find the show here on YouTube at youtube.com/@Lakers Lounge. So with all of that good stuff out of the way and with big news up ahead, let's go ahead and dive on in to talk about, we'll start with we'll start with the details of the trade, then how we got here, then where we go from here. So the details um, Dorian Finney-Smith, who is shooting a career high right now from 3-point range. He's knocking down almost 44% of his threes on this season on pretty good volume too. That's little concerning that it might be an outlier stretch for him. But he's a solid defender. He's a true 3-and-D wing, especially given the way that he is shooting. So good acquisition for the Lakers there. They also get Shake Milton, a 6'5" shooting / point guard. He's also shooting very well from 3-point range this year. He's averaging, he's not playing as much, obviously, but he's knocking down about 39% of his threes on 3 attempts a game. So he provides a little of the perimeter shooting that you lose by sending D'Angelo Russell. Going out means that Gabe Vincent probably plays a bigger role. And then, Maxwell Lewis didn't figure into the Lakers' plans this year and probably moving forward. The 3 second-rounders, 3 unprotected second-rounders. I've been hearing. All right, so a little quick background here. So the Lakers and the Nets had been talking on this and hard negotiating on this, this deal for the last couple of weeks. And I had been hearing that it was making some positive momentum, late last week. And I was nervous because my parents are in town, and I had told them that we were going to go to Topgolf today as a family. And I was like, well, maybe they'll hold off. And then, we got that rumor that the Grizzlies thought that they had a good chance on at getting Dorian Finney-Smith yesterday. And I'm like, oh man, we're probably going to get some kind of resolution to the situation tomorrow. And I just sat there and hoped that maybe it would come a little bit later in the day today. So we're sitting there at Topgolf, and we had literally just walked in, sat down. Avery is there in the hitting bay having the time of her life, and we get the notification, and I'm like, dang it. Dang it. And I had been getting a couple texts over the course of the day, and I was just kind of asking around, it's not going to happen ASAP, right? one way or the other. And I've been told like, well, maybe, maybe we wait a little, maybe the Nets wait a little bit later into Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, or maybe they wait until Monday. But between the Lakers negotiating with Brooklyn and between the Grizzlies offer, which Mike Scotto, friend of the show, Mike Scotto of Hoops Hype, reported that the Grizzlies offered a top 15 protected 2025 first rounder, Luke Kennard and John Conchar, uh, for Finney-Smith, and then second round draft capital. So, for whatever reason, the Nets went with the second round draft compensation that the Lakers are offering. I'd have to look at Kennard and Conchar's contract status. I know Brooklyn was really valuing expiring money in their trade negotiations. So you had that factor. And then, I'm going to be honest, it kind of surprised me that they turned down even a top 15 protected first instead of taking the second rounders. I have a theory on that. I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. But yeah, I'd been hearing, the Grizzlies thought they had a good chance, and they thought that they were about to cross the finish line there, and the Lakers were making kind of a late push. And I'm like, man, this is probably going to happen soon. And I was nervous, about leaving the house to go to Top Golf. Obviously, we sit down. I literally just sat down and started sipping on the mimosa that I ordered. And here we stand. Shams Charania of ESPN broke the news that the deal was agreed upon, and we're still waiting for the finalized version of all of this once the call into the league is made. But as it stands, I think the Lakers got a little bit better. I'll explain why, and again, like where we go from here here in a second. So my first immediate takeaway is that I'm kind of surprised the Lakers used D'Angelo Russell on Dorian. I figured if D'Lo was going to be going anywhere, it would be for kind of a target a little bit higher on people's wish lists. I do think this probably takes them out of the running for Cam Johnson. As and it was always kind of a long shot there. His contract is difficult to work with. So many teams want him that his price is a little higher. I do find myself wondering if the Lakers are going to move a first rounder at all during these trade talks and during this trade season. This kind of feels like, I wouldn't call it a half measure, but it's more incremental than it is a big swing for the fences. And look, I just the other day, I said how I would like to see the Lakers get a couple guys on base before they start swinging for a home run, and that's fine. But I do kind of hope that eventually they get a heavy hitter in there by way of a first round pick type trade. But getting Dorian, coming into last year, Dorian's asking price, or the price for Dorian Finney-Smith, was a first rounder, and then some stuff. Lakers didn't want to give up a first rounder for Dorian Finney-Smith last year, so obviously, and nobody did. And obviously, he stayed in Brooklyn as a result of those trade negotiations. This year, the Nets started the year kind of hoping to still land an unprotected first round pick for Dorian Finney-Smith, and had the Lakers gone out and traded for him earlier in the year, that price was a little bit higher. Now, look, 3 second rounders is nothing to kind of thumb your nose at. That is, I wouldn't say significant draft capital, but it's not insignificant either. The difference between a top 15 protected first and unprotected second round picks is that, you have a little bit more flexibility with what you can pay second rounders than you do with first rounders who have their, you know, salary slots depending on where a player gets drafted. And from what I've heard and kind of talks that I've had around the league is that the second round pick, especially early second round picks, have become really valuable because of that. Teams like that, especially now that you don't have to dig into your exception money to sign second round draft capital. Teams really value second round picks. And so the Nets here decided that they would have rather um, gotten 3 second rounders instead of the 1 first rounder. And then, had they gotten that first round pick, they would have had to attach second round draft capital. So they made the decision here to go with the Lakers offer, and they get back somebody in D'Angelo Russell who they had previous success with. There was some, I saw some people kind of wondering. My colleague at Clutch Points tweeted out that he thought D'Angelo Russell would be a buyout candidate. I haven't really heard too much about that. Mike Scotto actually kind of refuted that notion. I would be kind of surprised if D'Lo pushed for a buyout. The issue with buyout guys is that, like, one, under this new CBA, your market is significantly lessened because any teams above the first, let alone the second apron, they can't sign players who came into the year making more than the mid-level exception who get bought out. So the pool of teams interested in D'Angelo Russell or able to sign D'Angelo Russell is lower. And then, for those guys who get, who go from making, in D'Lo's case, he goes from making 18 mil or whatever it is this season to being seen potentially as a veteran minimum player after he gets bought out. A lot of guys nowadays are basically saying, like, no, I'd rather play out the season with that contract so that I'm not seen as a veteran minimum player from here on out. And I think for D'Lo, he gets to go to Brooklyn where they don't really care about winning or losing. He gets to take as many shots as he wants. He gets to play incredibly loose. With the basketball, expectations for this team are in the absolute basement. And I do think, like, for him, he gets to kind of pad his stats while making more than the minimum, and he'll kind of retest the market, or we'll see how the market goes for him this summer as an unrestricted free agent. Money has been difficult to come by in free agency, so we'll see what that looks like. I wonder if he'll kind of start talking potentially to Brooklyn about some kind of an extension, but I think he'll probably hit the free agent market, and we'll see what that looks like. I don't believe the Lakers will be able to sign D'Lo in the summer. After you trade a player, you have to wait, I believe, a full year before you can sign that player again. So, yeah, I think this was a good first step in trade season. Making this move in late December was great to see, frankly, because, and I'll talk about what comes next here in a second, but making this trade in late December shows that kind of urgency. I've talked a lot over the last few weeks about, what this run that the Lakers have been on kind of shows the front office. I think they looked at the way that Austin looks in particular, and the way that he has been playing on the ball, and his command of the offense, and what Max has looked like as a starting shooting guard. And I think they basically just kind of came to the conclusion of, all right. And then also with Gabe playing the way that he has too, we'll see what the oblique strain does. Those are kind of complicated. But the Lakers basically said to themselves, you know what, let's see what this looks like here with Dorian, adding some wing depth, and somebody who balances out the rotation defensively. They now have a defensive minded wing stopper type defender there, something they haven't had with Jared Vanderbilt dealing with the injuries that he has all year. So yeah, I think this makes them better. It's an incremental move. I think it's a margins type move, but this is the kind of stuff that, like, I've been kind of criticizing them for ignoring the margins. This is a margin move, and I think it's a positive margin move. D'Lo has been very inconsistent this year. I pretty clearly hasn't loved coming off of the bench. And I wouldn't expect him to love coming off of the bench, or I don't think he's loved his reduced role in the offense or on this team. And again, I wouldn't expect him to love his reduced role in the offense or on this team. But I think the Lakers basically made the decision and made it early on in the year that $18 million is too much to pay for a player who isn't in your starting lineup, probably won't be in your finishing lineup consistently. And they wanted to use that contract slot on somebody who has a better chance at starting or finishing games. So I'm really curious what the rotation looks like. I'm really curious what you guys think the rotation should look like. So drop me a comment, drop me a question, stuff like that here in the live comments, and I'll get to those a little bit later in the show as well. But yeah, overall positive incremental move, the kind of thing that we have been kind of hoping for, and now we just kind of see what the team looks like, for the next chunk of games. After the trade went down, I made some calls, both around the league and then to some of the people that I talked to closer to the team. And the league-wide consensus is that the Lakers are, obviously not done. People close to the team that I spoke to still say that they're going to make calls and stuff like that. But that I'm hearing that the Lakers are going to wait a chunk of games to see what this version of the team looks like. Jackson Hayes, they expect to be back here relatively soon, I'm told. So with Jackson Hayes coming back, and with, now you have Dorian kind of filling that Jared Vanderbilt role, they'll see kind of an iteration of the team that they thought they would have coming into the season. And they'll give that another 10, 15, 20 games or so before making another big swing here, unless obviously something falls into their laps that they feel like they need to jump on right away. Their plan, again, that I'm being told, is that they're going to, be a little patient from here on out, and and see what this version of the team looks like. They do still feel like they need an upgrade at center, at the backup center spot, especially with Jackson not being able to stay healthy. I don't think JJ Redick really trusts Christian Coloco all that much, so the Lakers feel like they need a backup center who JJ will trust. I'm told JJ really pushed for Dorian Finney-Smith and really liked the idea of bringing him in. He's always been a fan of JJ, as my buddy Jason Gallagher tweeted out a clip of JJ talking about Dorian. Maybe I'll download that really quickly and play that for you guys as well. But he, JJ pushed hard for Dorian Finney-Smith, and I'm really curious what his decision is going to be when it comes to DFS's role. Yeah, cool. It's only a minute long. Perfect. So I will go ahead. I'll download that and upload it here into our library, and I'll play that for you. Cool clip here. It's great that we have some of this content out there that we can kind of point to when it comes to JJ's thoughts on guys. And yeah, here's the look at this production quality here of the show. Video is processing now. Once it is ready to go, I'll go ahead and play it. But yeah, I think Max has earned the right to continue to start, but I think that if Max kind of declines, regresses a little bit, I do think eventually JJ envisions an Austin, Dorian, Rui, LeBron, and AD lineup. I think even if Max starts, I think JJ would like a look at that group to see what that looks like. But yeah, here's what JJ Redick said about Dorian.
The one guy, I just got to shout out because I love watching him play, and I've played against him now for a few years. and he does so many things that just don't show up in a box score, and that's Dorian Finney-Smith, or as he's affectionately known as Dodo. But Dodo is he's just an awesome player, and he's a player that can fit on any team in the NBA. I think he's incredibly valuable. Great defender, hustles, makes all the plays. He had a block last night. We had some miscommunication in transition. It was I think it was a 6-point game or 8-point game in the fourth, and Chris Milton came down the middle of the lane, and Dodo came out of nowhere, blocked the shot. They originally called it a foul. We got a challenge on it. It was obviously a clean block when you saw it on replay. So we got to jump ball it, and then from there we just controlled the rest of the game and pulled away. It was a huge play, and he makes plays like that all the time.
Dodo, according to JJ Redick, is what he will be is what he's kind of known as around the league. So yeah, I think again, JJ and Rob kind of being on the same page. I'm really curious again with this kind of meet. Max has been really effing good lately. And he's being asked to do a lot. Now it's kind of tough because Max guards point guards really well. Dorian guards wings really well. I would also be curious to see what an Austin Max Dorian lineup might look like. If Dorian is shooting, if this is who Dorian is as a shooter, where he's knocking down again 43% of his let's get this right. 43% of his threes. He's taking about 5.5 a game. That's not nothing. If as a career shooter, he's at like 359. So this is, pretty big outlier. Makes me a little nervous that, given the experience that the Lakers have with Gabe Vincent and his shooting, peaks and valleys. But if even with some regression, Dorian comes down to like 39% from 3-point range, that might allow you to play Austin, Max, Dorian, LeBron, AD as your starting or finishing group. If you really want to put clamps on teams. I'm really kind of, again, I asked around, and my thought is that, or my thought going into those conversations is that Max probably has earned the right to continue to start. And I am told that that's probably going to continue for a little while, but that JJ is going to do whatever he can to get Dorian in there or Dodo, as he calls Dorian. He's going to try to get Dorian Finney-Smith in those kind of big minute, high leverage situations, especially against teams with like the Anthony Edwards of the world, the Kevin Durant's of the world, the Giannis's, and like those wings that have given the Lakers and give everybody problems. That's where I think Dorian will really, really help. And then Max can kind of focus on the Stephs, the Jaws, the De'Aaron Foxes, and so on and so forth, as he is much better at guarding smaller players than he is guarding bigger, more physical ones. So, again, as tough as it is to say goodbye to D'Angelo Russell again, and as many questions as I have on the offensive side of the ball, I still think that the best version of the Lakers is a defense first team that gets out and runs when they can and then executes in the half court. You still have the key cogs in your offense that were really helping you the most in clutch situations, them being Austin, LeBron, and obviously Anthony Davis. You still have those guys to carry your offense when it needs to be carried. Now you just have a lot more versatility that you can, play with defensively. And I think this was the, now one thing that I do have a bit of a question on, you had Shams out there talking about, the Lakers really wanting to go out and get, guys who are a little bit younger, maybe in their mid to late 20s, who can be good now and also moving forward. That isn't necessarily Dorian Finney-Smith. He's 31. Now they do get Shake Milton, who is a little bit younger. He's let's see, how old is he? He's 28. So again, not exactly a youth movement move here for the Lakers. But look, I've been saying all along, like caring about your later when your present is LeBron James and Anthony Davis doesn't make a whole bunch of sense. So I think this is a window maximizing move. I think the Lakers still really value the fact that they could get Dorian without moving a first rounder. And I think, a little bit later in the year, as we get closer to the deadline, that's when you'll start to see them maybe a little more willing to move first round stuff. But this is very much a single or a walk before your bigger hitters come on later in the year type move. Let's talk really quickly about D'Angelo Russell. Obviously, this was his second stint with the Lakers. The first one was, I think he showed flashes, and I think he was incredibly immature when, his first time with the Lakers, or his first stint with the Lakers, as, young players tend to be. I think, he was kind of the poster child for some of the growing pains that the Lakers were facing before they landed LeBron and before they traded for Lonzo and all that stuff. His soured relationship with Byron Scott, and obviously Byron's close friendship with Magic Johnson, I think led to Magic trading D'Angelo Russell. I think Magic blamed D'Lo for Byron not being for Magic not being able to keep Byron going into that next era. So I think that played a role in D'Lo, being moved the first time around. They bring him back, obviously, in the merciful Russell Westbrook trade when they traded away Russell Westbrook. And D'Lo, look, they don't make the playoffs without D'Lo's help. Now, it's kind of weird. He was in and out of the lineup late in that season when they were trying to improve their seeding or get into the playoffs and not needing to go through the play-in. But the Lakers did what they needed to do and were able to make a Western Conference Finals. Again, something they wouldn't have accomplished without D'Angelo Russell. I thought he was a lot more mature this time around than he was his first time with the Lakers, or his first stint with the Lakers. I have talked all year about how admirable I find or I have found his approach to coming off of the bench this season. Something that he and JJ talked about earlier, when JJ was hired. I think one of the things that he and D'Lo talked about a ton was the role that I think eventually JJ saw for him. And even while, again, D'Lo didn't love that role, he didn't sulk too much. There were some moments where he, I think, let the frustration get the better of him. But overall, I thought was a positive. Look, statistically, it's inarguable he was a positive impact on the team this year. But I thought he was a positive impact as he warmed up a little bit to that six-man role. I think he's happy to get back to Brooklyn, where he is going to start, and he will have the ball in his hands a ton. And he and Cam, man, now I'm blanking on who that Cam is going to help me out here. Comments, but the Cam who scores like crazy. Is it Thomas? It's not Thomas. I think it's Thomas. Cam Thomas Nets. Yeah. But he, they're going to be happy to, play together a little bit and just focus on putting the ball in the bucket. Something both those guys are obviously very good at. But I think, his time, D'Lo's time with the Lakers had kind of worn out. I think he was ready to move on. He never forced a trade, never demanded out or anything like that. I think he liked being a Laker, right? He had a Lakers birthday party for his kid. Not Johnson, Thomas. Um, like the, but even given that he liked being a Laker and all that stuff, once Austin took over the offense, and especially with the way that he has been playing lately, once it became clear that Austin should have the keys, I think D'Lo started looking elsewhere and was fine and is really excited. Dan Wiki reported that he is really excited to move on and get that opportunity again in Brooklyn. But it was time. It was definitely time with D'Lo, and now he has a whole chunk of the season, more than half of a season, to prove to the rest of the league that he is somebody who should have more than a veteran minimum contract. So, wish him all the best. It's just tough. It's tough. I think the ceiling that he kind of puts on a team because of his inconsistency was something that the Lakers were hyper aware of. And they have basically, since last year and then on into this year and this trade season, the Lakers have really made a concerted effort to move him, and now we'll see what he looks like in Brooklyn again. All right. What's next? Right. So I talked about, this notion of seeing what this team looks like for a chunk of games and then kind of going from there, unless, Washington brings down their asking price for Jonas Valanciunas, or unless Cam Thomas's, or not Cam Johnson's asking price falls a little bit further. Maybe then the Lakers jump on that opportunity. But I'm told that the Lakers are going to kind of take their time, see what this version of the team looks like, get Jackson Hayes back healthy again. I don't know if we're going to see Christian Wood healthy as a Laker again. I don't think he's a part of their plans. So take that for what you will. And then we'll see what kind of news we get with Jared Vanderbilt in the next few days as we get that next update. Have heard a little bit of pessimism on that front. I'm not going to report anything definitively here because, as I've told you guys before, injury information is just really difficult to really kind of nail down in a way that makes me confident. So, I think they're going to see what they're going to see what this Lakers team looks like together. Hopefully, Gabe Vincent's oblique injury isn't too serious, and he's able to kind of man the second unit in the way that D'Angelo Russell was. Vincent has said in the past that he prefers to be on the ball more, so this gives him that opportunity, and he is a lot steadier defensively than D'Lo is. So the Lakers are kind of excited to see what that looks like. And then Austin, the keys are now, definitively his. They are this offense is 100% his to work with LeBron and to work with Anthony Davis, and we'll see what that looks like. So far it's been good. There are some games and some matchups, some types of teams that give him issues still, and I think that's something that he is going to have to continue to work on. But him running the offense, he's looked like his stats the last couple games have been pretty insane. I'm going to pull up his game log here. He is coming off of the Golden State game, 26, 10, and 10. The Sacramento game, 26, 16, and 6. Did have 5 turnovers, and the turnovers have been a bit of an issue with him having the ball more in his hands. He had a 6 turnover game against Detroit, the 5 turnovers he had against Sacramento, so he'll have to work on that quite a bit. But that's where I think LeBron is going to have a lot more active role in the offense, and that tends to happen anyway over the course of the year. But it certainly has to happen now with D'Angelo Russell not there. And I think the Lakers want to get back to Anthony Davis being the hub of the offense. Davis was incredible against Sacramento. without LeBron in the lineup. And I think that's something that the Lakers want to continue to, really hammer home. That game against Sacramento, the Lakers won 132-122. So not a ton of defense played, but AD went for 36, 15, and 8 in that game. They believe in him as the hub and, want to get back to doing more of that. So I would anticipate a lot of AD, being centralized in the offense. Austin working off of AD, Austin working off of LeBron, those kinds of looks as well. And then the second unit I'm a little nervous about because D'Lo has done a very good job running that second unit. Gabe has not been particularly good offensively this year. We'll see what that kind of looks like there. But, I think eventually we might see Rui go to the second unit and Dorian start in his spot just to give that second unit a little bit more offensive punch. But then you might be messing a little too much with the starters offensively. So we'll kind of see what that looks like. But the big thing here is, and Dalton kind of broke out of his slump a little bit in yesterday's game as well. So if he starts shooting the ball a little bit better, that gives that second unit the punch that they kind of desperately need to. So yeah, I think this balances out the offensive and defensive talent that the Lakers have across their roster. JJ gets a guy that he really trusts in every kind of situation. I think that's something that the Lakers are, excited to see what that looks like. And then, maybe they get Vando back, and, Hayes is kind of expected back this week sometime. And then you kind of go from there. So overall, good day here for the Lakers. Good weekend here for the Lakers. Nice little stretch also for the Lakers, right? They currently sit, I think, let's see, in their division, it's them and the Clippers who are just kind of like switching spots. Yeah, they're tied right now with the Clippers, 18 and 13. They both sit. The Lakers, I believe, have a tiebreaker there. But the Lakers are atop the conference, and the longer that they sit in this 4 or 5 spot, the more convinced the front office is going to be to continue to invest into this team. So good stuff here for a good start to the season, and the reward here as we get ready for LeBron's birthday right tomorrow. His birthday present from Rob Pelinka is a wing who can defend. All right, let's go ahead and dive on into the super comments here. Let's start with the all-important clip. Mockman kicks it off with, who else is LA actively pursuing? Any chance JHS would and 2 firsts for Kessler in 3 seconds, and then pick up somebody like JR, Lonnie or Fultz? Dennis Smith Jr., Lonnie or Fultz. I do think eventually they'll probably get involved, and they'll start working out guys like DSJ, Lonnie, or Fultz to see what those guys are able to do, and kind of gauge their interest in getting back into the NBA in a smaller role. They do want somebody now. Shake Milton is a bigger guy. He's 6'5", and somebody put in the comments there he has a 7'1" wingspan. So they kind of want to see what they have there with Shake. A kind of obviously more 3 than D guard there, but they want to see what he can do. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers make an imbalanced trade at some point to open up a roster spot. One big thing that this trade does do is it brings them well below that second apron, which I'm sure obviously Jeannie is excited about, but also the front office is excited because it allows them, some breathing room as they look to be more active or continue to be active in the trade market, and then eventually get active in acquiring free agents later in the year. Now, again, they're above the first apron, so they can't sign players who made more this year or came into the year making more than the mid-level exception. They still have a little ways to go to get under the first apron and then give themselves that opportunity. That would be kind of shocking if they're able to do that. And if they do, then you're talking about like maybe Ben Simmons gets bought out, or maybe it doesn't matter if D'Lo gets bought out because they can't re-sign him this year. But those, if they're able to continue to chunk out or cut out chunks of their cap sheet, then maybe, just maybe, they can get more involved with better players who become free agents later in the year. But yeah, I think players that they are actively pursuing, the Jonas stuff isn't going in anywhere anytime soon. I do think that it's become a bit of a staring contest there, where Washington wants more than one second rounder, let alone two, and the Lakers just don't want to go that far into their second round draft capital for Jonas. So we'll just kind of see where that goes. And Day'Ron Sharpe is still there, available in Brooklyn. The Time Lord stuff, like, I think the Lakers, if they see Time Lord get out onto the court and stay out there and looks like what he's capable of looking like, then I think the Lakers probably make a couple calls there. And look, you can never have enough wings, especially if there is some of this doubt that I've been sensing with Jared Vanderbilt potentially coming back. I think the Lakers probably continue to kind of scour the wing market to see what they can do there. So now the problem here that the Lakers are going to run into is that they just moved their one big expiring contract. Now, you're probably looking at, if you move a Gabe or a Vando, you're going to have to include extra draft capital to get off of their contracts or to move their contracts. They're both negative contracts right now around the league. So that is going to complicate that a little bit. You do have veteran minimum contracts that you can stack and that are all expiring. So that will help you. But then again, you have to ask a team to waive some of their players to be able to take back that kind of imbalanced trade. And, obviously we that takes some convincing there as well. So I would probably say, like, the Kessler thing. So one thing that I haven't heard reported that I've been told to, take into account when we talk about talks between the Jazz and the Lakers, Kessler is young and he's going to continue to get better. And from the Jazz perspective, they already have future Lakers draft capital. So if they trade the Lakers Walker Kessler and he continues to get better, that would make Utah's, the Lakers draft capital that that Utah has in their possession worse down the line. And so, like, that kind of complicates some of those negotiations between the Lakers and the Jazz. Just something to keep in mind there when we talk about Kessler. But the Lakers, I do sense that they realize and recognize they need to get better with their backup center situation. They probably need to get a little bit more initiation into their rotation somehow. And then you can never have enough wings. Rye Guy asks, not sure if Indy would bite, but Obi would be a huge pickup in place of Vando. Like, if Rob could turn remaining assets into Obi, Kessler, and Sexton. Wow. I don't think the Lakers have enough stuff for all three of those guys. Obi is an interesting player. He's insane athlete, and the Lakers could use some more athleticism like that. But like I said, Kessler, Sexton, like, those are kind of like, those guys are going to cost stuff, and they're both young-ish. Kessler obviously younger than Sexton, and those guys are going to continue to get better. And from Utah's perspective, why would they trade the Lakers players who are going to eventually cheapen their down the road assets that they would be getting back from the Lakers? But I would, even on that, like, even on that point, once LeBron retires, once AD maybe is looking elsewhere without LeBron in a Lakers uniform, like, I would, if I were Utah, I would probably bet against the Lakers there. But that is parts of the conversation that have come up. Queen Strawberry writes, don't fix what's not, don't fix, don't fix it, not broken. But the point there is don't fix what isn't broken. Have Max and Rui start still. I'm fine with that. Like the starting group has looked good. Max has looked good. Austin has looked incredible since Max has been back there. I think Dorian is a little bit better a basketball player than Max, and is bigger. So I think it's some of it is kind of matchup dependent as well. But I get it. I understand the sentiment there, and I probably agree right now. I think the Lakers kind of agree right now. It's just a matter of like for how long. Shane Poitras writes, let's go get a guy like Bruce Brown or Colin Sexton. Brown is tricky. The Lakers are really concerned about his health history. He hasn't been able to get or stay on the court. Now, the Raptors have been very, very conservative with his recovery because they want to be able to trade him. But the Lakers are very nervous about that. He also just hasn't looked anywhere near as good as he did while he was playing for Denver, and specifically alongside Jokic. And I think the Lakers are a little concerned. Now, you have LeBron, who would set up in ways that Jokic set him up before. But yeah, like the health concern and what he has looked like since he got paid is a couple of concerns that the Lakers have there. Sexton, again, I just don't want to continue to use resources on point guards. Like I'm good. Like Austin is fine. Does he have holes in his game or some matchups that he doesn't look great against? Yeah, but I'm done with this like cavalcade of point guards and combo guards. We're set there. I promise we can move on. Mockman again writes, LA should use a first to get MA few seconds and a player. MA. Who would be MA? Like I don't think Ma. I don't think to get Ma. Maybe it's just a. Oh, I see. I think it's a typo, and it's LA should use a first to get a few seconds and a player. No, I kind of like that idea. I think the scouting department has had some success there with the second round in the draft. They have and again, when you talk about second round picks value in this new CBA, there's I think it makes a lot of sense to do that. But I look, if the Lakers use a first rounder, it would be to get somebody who would definitely start, would definitely finish. You're probably talking like a Kuz or a Rui to Kuz kind of upgrade, or a Rui to Jeremy Grant type of upgrade, something like that, or a Cam Johnson type player. And we'll see if they're able to do that kind of stuff. But I definitely think, yeah, I like where your head is at there, and I do think that now they have bought second rounders in the past, and I think they'll probably get back to doing that in this next draft because they need to kind of replenish their second round draft cash. But yeah, I see where you're going there. I think it makes some sense, but I think first and foremost, this move signals that they're going for it for the remainder of this window, and they're focused on improving their team right now. And then when it comes time to replenish the draft, covered, then they can do that then. All right, that is going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'll also record a lowdown to keep this thing a little bit tighter and let you guys know what you need to know. Maybe we'll get some updates between now and later in the evening when I record that. So keep an eye out for that there on the RSS feeds. And then I will go ahead and probably push. Let's see what the Lakers schedule is, because they're probably they start playing almost like every other day from here on out. But the Lakers, their next game is Tuesday. So they don't play again tomorrow. So what I'll probably do is either Harrison will be on the show tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit more about that, or it'll be a mailbag show where I get to more of your guys' questions, and then we'll kind of go from there. But yeah, until then and until the next time, wish you well, D'Angelo Russell. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, all of that good stuff. And I will talk to you again tomorrow. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye, everyone.